Okay, we're here with Rent Control Board candidate Phyllis Dudick. Phyllis, thanks so much for being here. Do you want to just tell us a bit about yourself and your campaign?
Sure. I'm a renter in a rent controlled building and became involved as an advocate for RC and EM in 2022. So now I feel it as a calling to protect and preserve our rent control law for all renters as a candidate. Having had the privilege and opportunity to work with culturally and ethnically and socioeconomically diverse communities in the city of Los Angeles, including senior citizens, I the experience has given me a broad perspective and understanding. I was asked fairly recently if I would consider running for this office, and I've been working with Anastasia Foster and Kurt and Jonathan on the Rent Control Board and Kay Ambrose. And I also had a wonderful meeting with Jonathan at the agency, and he sent a bunch of links for me to read. And I have to say, I haven't gotten through all of them, but I certainly will.
Great. And so before we continue, I know that there was you sent me a revised version of your questionnaire. So I just wanted to get on the record in case anybody saw the old one. The changes that you made were pretty some small ones, but just to clarify, so do you support or oppose the ballot measure that would create a two-thirds vote for new taxes?
I do not support that.
Okay,
This
and
our cities need funding too badly. And I think even people who would support that would not be happy with the potential consequences.
great. Okay, and then the other one was Prop 47 reform. Did you support or oppose that? Um,
The reform, I do not support the reform.
okay, great. Okay, just wanted to make sure we were clear on where you stood on those since the change. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience? I know you were working with a building on San Vicente a few years ago. Is that right?
Oh, are you you mean uh,
Yeah, well, just
yes,
your experience as a
yeah.
renter's
Oh,
advocate. I mean, I just in
renters advocate. I was wondering if you were thinking about the uh historic San Vicente Coalition, which was to create the historic district. But
yeah,
yes,
would love to hear about that too. But why don't we
yeah,
start
yeah,
with the
yeah.
renter's
No,
advocate
no,
work,
right.
advocacy work that you've done?
Yes, yes, at that time, after the well, I met a lot of the renters here through the coalition. And at one point, one of the captains of our buildings called, and they had been notified that the building was building. There were three parcels on the property. They were going to be Ellis, and that was very surprising. But it was all done. This was done according to Hoyle. And so in that case, I immediately got a call, the agency, and at that time it was Tracy Condon was the executive director, and wasted no time to get in touch and find out what procedures we need to go through. And I coordinated with her a meeting. We had two meetings, and it was informational because this was all done legally, and the owner, a senior citizen herself, was going out of business. No matter if it's done legally, even if it's done legally, it is very upending and very anxiety producing. But get bringing people to the meeting. I was at the meeting, Anastasia was at the meeting, Tracy was at the meeting, a staff member was at the meeting, but just knowing that there are people that they're not alone and they're getting proper information, separating fact from fiction, really so helpful for the anxiety. And of course, the seniors, 62 and over, did have a year to get it together. And so anyway, they all knew what their options were, and that I felt really good about that. It was a full house both times. So I know that this information was very, very important to them. And currently, um, just pardon me, just last week, well, a few weeks ago, I got another phone call from another building that was having issues. And I've been in touch with a few of the people there. And just last week we had a meeting. I've been in touch with them for a few weeks. I had contacted Anastasia, and uh, and she came to the meeting also with a representative from the city attorney's office and the staff. And this meeting was a little different because this meeting was a fact-finding meeting along with an informational meeting. And I mean, these people, these tenants were just panicking. Um, and so I felt after this meeting, it was so nice to meet them in person too. And after this meeting, I felt like they were going to sleep a whole lot better. And they had, contacts, and everything is going to move along from here for them. And I'm just grateful I had the opportunity to play a role in that.
Great. And I have one more before I go to Isabel about uh with regard to the Barrington Plaza. So you mentioned that your response with regard to Costa Hawkins and the Justice for Renters Act is pretty
Yeah.
clear that you definitely think it should be uh repealed. Um with regard to the Ellis Act, you sort of talked about how we're watching the Barrington Plaza court case to see how that changes the way Ellis is used. So I'm just curious, what are you looking at with regard to how the Barrington Plaza case comes out? What kind of changes do you think could be implied from that decision? And then also, if you want to just clearly say if you support repealing the Ellis Act altogether.
Uh, oh, I don't know at this point enough about it to say it, to repeal it completely.
Okay.
But what I would say at minimum right now is that it needs to be reformed so that there's clarity in there. There's too much it's ambiguous. And it needs to, I believe, as I understand it, the original intent was for an owner to go out of business. And if that's not clear, that needs to be clarified. So I would say it needs to be reformed. I'm still learning about things, but that's where I see it at the moment. Definitely needs to be reformed and made clear, so there's no possibility of confusion, shall we say.
Great. And how do you think the Barrington Plaza case plays in, or what are you looking for when the decision comes out? I mean, what would be a red
Well,
flag for you?
I'm looking for, what I'm hoping for is that this was not a legal eviction.
Sure. Yeah, I would be surprised if it, I mean, I'm not a
I mean,
judge,
I
but
mean, he had, yeah, again, technicalities with the law and not being clear and blah blah. But I would really hope that I mean, if if that is, well, anyway, yeah.
I
I mean, if
understand.
that
Yeah.
if that if that would come out to be okay, I mean, then we really got to go to work.
Yes, definitely. Okay, let's go to Isabel.
Hi, Phyllis.
Hello.
So you said in your questionnaire that your career was a lifetime career in public service. And
Yes.
I'm curious to hear a little more about that, and in particular, how it's relevant to your goal of, you said one of your main goals on the rent board would be to educate people about the rent control law. So how will your career in public service help you do that?
Well, I did serve in many communities, and I always work with with the public, and that's kind of my thing. And how would it?
Well, can you tell us some examples of that? Because it was just a
Yeah,
general statement.
yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you something that this is. I'll go into more detail, but I felt in the position I was in, it was kind of a civic duty to um, help educate people in a very nonpartisan way, but to get them really involved and empowered in their right to vote. So I always had town hall meetings of council people. We always had pros and cons of the ballot measures. We always had a Washington update with our congressman, a state update with our assemblyman or whatever, at least once a year. And then we had, oh, this was really fun. We had this get out the vote intergenerational with the local high school and the seniors together with go granny go kind of thing. And it was really great. But actually I did a lot of programming and worked with adult education. We had excellent teachers until those cuts came in, but for years we had top-notch teachers, and we had many programs. And then I worked on, whoop, I think I lost you. Hello? Whoop.
Yeah, no, you're here. We hear
Oh,
you.
okay. I lost you. Well, I worked for 10 years on, I can't see you. What happened? Oh, cancel. Okay.
You're good.
I worked
We
for,
see you.
oh, good. I worked for 10 years on the, I don't know if they're doing it anymore, but the 50 plus fitness jamboree. And we had like 3,000 people coming in from all over the city in Griffith Park. And my role was, uh, coordinating all the stage stuff for the whole, however many hours. It was quite a long time, and dealing with the VIPs and planning the program and the speakers and the officials from the city and all that. And so I did that for 10 years. And we were doing purely, we were making seniors more aware of physical fitness. The whole program was physical fitness activities. And then we had alternative things in other areas, and we had the 5K. And we kind of led the way. And eventually, I think the marathon has a 5K, did for a while, they had a 5K for seniors. But education, so I hope those are a couple of examples. I did an awful lot of programming for our in our communities as well, and special events and involving volunteers and all. But uh, so oh, and a lot of resource. I was a director of a multipurpose senior center. Forgot to tell you that, where we had 5 social workers, and we had the home delivered meals, maybe about 10,000 a year. We had uh, resource information and referral. And I'm very big on, in fact, right now I have in my phone, I've got the phone number, the SMER hotline, and the rent control, just in case I run into somebody who might need it right off the bat. So yeah, I'm very into resources and having resources available and sharing them with helping people to, connect. Is that sufficient?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Definitely. Thanks, you. Let's go to Lynn.
Hi, Phyllis. I
Hello.
think it'd be great to have a fellow senior on the rent control board.
Yeah, I'm a senior now. I started working with seniors when I was not a senior, and I had I lost my mother when I was, about 21. I was a very naive 21, and I lost her. And somehow working with the seniors, I felt like I could do for them what I never got a chance to do for my mother.
I love hearing about all that you do for the seniors. My question has to do with the Justice for Rentals Act. You mentioned that if passed, it could open the door to meaningful dialogue to identify possible modifications for renter protections. And I'm wondering, what modifications for rental protections would you advocate for?
Well, first of all, we're talking about, oh, you're talking about the renter Costa-Hawkins now, right now?
Yeah,
That-
and in
that's cost.
general, modifications. for the
Well, I mean, well, first thing is that Costa-Hawkins has totally, I mean, I don't have to tell you, it's totally made housing unaffordable for so many people. and so many people, and people are moving out, and the state is even getting into the act with, the California Renter Protection Act of 2019 that became effective on January 1st of 2000, and that's where the state has put a cap. I mean, to try to help with affordability and keeping people housed with it's a 5% increase with a maximum of a 5% tied to inflation, so that would be a maximum of 10%. I I feel very I don't feel at the moment that so so that I have, I mean, I want to hear what other I would be very open, let's put it this way, to listening to stakeholders and residents and others who want to discuss this, but I know that we have leadership who probably have some pretty good ideas right now. And I mean, certainly I'm not going to supersede those. I want to hear what that is, what other people who have been working on this for a long time have in mind. But those rents, okay, it swung a little too far, shall we say, for 24 years.
Thank you.
Natalia?
Hi, Phyllis. I really loved your answer to the mission purpose of the rent control charter, but my question was about your response to how you would use your position on the rent control board to assist systematically disadvantaged groups of Santa Monica residents. So you had noted that you would reach out to them to put forward information and resources and want to hear their stories and experiences to understand it. So I was just curious if you could expand on how you would kind of reach out to those types of communities and seek to hear their stories.
Well, I think personal contact is really important but I do think that while I know the rent control board and the agency works diligently at trying to get information out, and now in a few languages as well, other languages as well. I mean, there's still issues of people not knowing their rights, people being afraid of retaliation, not knowing it's not legal. And I would want people to understand what their rights are and that they can make claims safely. And because we have all the mechanisms in place to deal with this, are the renters, our charter is anti-discrimination. We have, our fair housing, and there are ways to remedy the situation, but we have to know about it, and we have to help them feel, safe and have a trusting relationship. So I suppose I would try to follow up or go out into the community and try to make sure that people have the information they need so that they can come forward.
Thank you.
Okay, Sam?
Hey, Phyllis.
Hello.
So, to your work with helping San Vicente people with rent control and all of that, for a voter who's in a rent-controlled apartment, what would you say to them when they're in constant fear of being Ellis out and all of that? What would you say to them to assure them that you will fight for them in the rent control board?
Well, these two cases in point, what we did is we gave them information so that they know what their rights are. I mean, currently, if the one case was a completely legal, as of now, uh, owner going out of business, and there was really nothing more that we could do except let them know what their rights are, how long they had to stay. A senior could stay for a year, a disabled tenant could stay for a year, a student, or I think a student under 18, but maybe, I'm not quite sure, an educator would be able to finish the school year, and the others would have 4 months in which to make plans. They also, of course, would be given a relocation fee, and everything was just very step by step with that, and that's what we could do. I mean, we couldn't fight not to have it, it was done in a legal manner. The other case is a little bit different, but the city attorney was there, and it's not my role to investigate, but it is my role. I feel like as a human being, uh, I will be checking in with them. I don't know if I can do that once if I'm on the board, but I will be checking in with them just they know they're not alone. They knew they were not alone when we had that meeting, and I am living not too far away, and I don't want them to feel that they're alone. So I will be probably checking in a week and see how things are going. And if there's any resource I could give them, I would. But I think it's going to be in the hands now of people who are experts and with the law and so on and so forth. So I think they're going to be taken care of. And I mean, yeah.
Thank you so much, Phyllis.
Thank you.
Okay, and does anyone else have a question? Mike?
Hey, Phyllis. Sorry,
Hi,
my
Mike.
computer decided to do an emergency shutdown for some reason,
Okay.
but I'm back. So I apologize if this has already been covered, but if it hasn't, you indicated that you support the Justice for Renters Act, and so can you tell us what you will do in this coming election season to see that the voters in Santa Monica or elsewhere agree with you?
I will support it. I will speak out on it. I mean, I think it's really important.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any more that I could do than that?
Well, I'll give you ideas afterwards.
Right.
I know you're
Okay,
committed.
thank you.
Okay, well, I think that concludes our questions. So thanks so much for being here, Phyllis. It was great to hear from you. And look forward
Thank
to
you.
seeing you on Wednesday evening.
Thank
Thanks
you
so
very
much.
much. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Phyllis.